So this is a nice piece of ash that we collected up last winter, made it a little longer than it needs to be. It's a good size. You know, you want your log to be at least 10 inches in diameter, because you're going to want to take off not only the bark but the sapwood, because the sapwood on ash is brittle and can't be trusted.
Yep.
So you got to get down to some of the older wood inside.
More towards the center of the tree?
Yeah,
Yep.
and by using a larger tree, you also have to deal with the tree when it was a baby. It
Yep.
had limbs and things when it was only so tall, and as the tree grew up, those limbs died and fell off and then healed and grew around it. So you need a piece of wood that is thick enough that,
Oh yeah, look at that.
yeah, you're getting rid of your sapwood and you're getting rid of the part that has the little knots that would
Yep.
create problems. These are the little knots that when the tree was a baby, you know, they would die eventually and fall off, and then the tree would heal around. You get this nice straight clean grain that don't have no effects from the knots.
Yep.
While I've got you shooting this, you'll see this. I don't know if it shows in the camera, but the that kind of wave in the grain, it shows a little. Well, what it does is it shows the healing of the knots as it grew.
Yep.
But it also, to me, tells me that that's the top of the tree, and this would be the bottom as it grew. And hardwood, you always want to split from the top to the bottom. So I'm
Okay.
gonna have to flip this over.
Yeah. Okay, this isn't a perfect
And,
example, but you were explaining just so because it's hard to imagine. This was what, probably a 12 inch around, 13-inch
Yeah.
tree. But you were talking about the sapwood.
Yeah, that I'm not sure if it shows on the camera, but you can certainly see the fast growth rings here.
Yep.
This tree probably started growing when it had very little competition.
Yep.
And then the pines grew up around it, and now you look at how tiny the growth rings are as you go out.
Yeah.
Well, the sapwood, you almost have to guess as to where it starts and where it ends. But because the grain doesn't show it, but right here you see kind of a defining color change.
Yep.
I think if you get in like 3/4 of an inch into the wood, you're pretty safe from that.
From the bark side?
From the
If you will.
sapwood, yeah,
From the
bark
sapwood.
side.
Just trying to put it in like, the bark, so the sapwood is right under the bark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the sapwood is the live
like
wood.
that.
Gotcha.
It's drawing the sap up the tree to feed the limbs and everything. But each year it grows a new layer. So each year it also puts a layer into storage, so to speak.
Gotcha.
And the pieces that it puts into storage, it actually treats with a rot-resistant chemical or whatever it is, but it prevents the centers from getting rotten. Some trees are deficient in that, and that's when you find a hollow tree, and the only part of that tree that's solid is the living sap wood. So you want the wood that's been preserved with that, treated by itself, and it's stronger and will last better. And I believe the sapwood on ash in particular is brittle. I've made bows before I understood that, and they do break. So that's what's recommended.
Definitely a learning process.
Yes.
There's a good shot of what the grain should look like, as you can see. It's I know it looks crooked, but you don't have those S-turns or whatever the other ones had out there.
Corkscrew.
Corkscrew,
Look down
yeah.
the bottom side too.
You can see too that this thing splits almost perfectly flat all the way down. That's a sign of a really straight grain, which is what you're looking for.
friend of mine thought I had them sawn out.
Yeah, no, that wood was split, and it's pretty amazing how, I mean, you could use that almost for a floor.
So we're going to try and split this down the center from the top end of the log, which is recommended. Now, the thing about this particular piece of wood is if it wasn't for the center, what they call the pith of the log, I would want to center my cut right there, but knowing ash like I do, I'm going to put it on the pith and count on it going where it belongs. So here it goes.
Pretty straight.
I think it's going to go. Now, once the crack is made by the throw, set a wedge. I split this originally. All I did was put one wedge in it, and then I hit it with a splitting maul and popped in half.
That is
About
nice
right.
and pretty straight. Wow.
There it is. Not too shabby.
Oh no, it looks good. Yeah.
Smell it. It smells good.
Yeah, actually, as soon as you said that. So, as you can see, that's a good, beautiful, straight grain. Once we get that broken down again.
This wave
Yep.
will most likely, most of it will disappear once we get this center core piece off of
Yep.
it. I'm going to split the quarter in half, or try to. When you're splitting the stuff, you always want an equal amount of mass on either side so that there's no weak spot. A split is like energy and will go the path of least resistance. So if you start your split, say, off center, that makes this weaker, the side, if it's a thinner side, and that split will travel off to the side. You'll end up with a long tapered nothingness. So I'm going to try to guesstimate about center mass. It's not always the center of the piece, but it is center mass. Yeah. All right, so again,
Get your fro started, and
that ensures a nice straight line.
again, that's a fro.
Yes, this is a fur club.
We're putting the
It's starting to travel a little bit more than I like.
Yep.
All right, quartering the log is generally a pretty good chance you're going to get it straight. Splitting the quarters, you can run into trouble. And this is starting to wander. It's going off to this side. So if I continue splitting it, it'll taper right off to nothing. But hoping by weakening the side, the thicker side,
that is amazing how you do that, because by doing that, taking meat or material off this side, that line that was going off, let's say to the right, is going to turn left
we hope.
and go back to the center. I've seen it so many times, and it's amazing how it does it. But you can even save when you're actually getting it right down to the nitty-gritty of the bow, you can still turn a grain.
Yep. Another thing, if it was a smaller piece of wood and I could do it, I could grab the end and pull and put a little tension here, that'll bring it over too.
Yep.
But when you're using an axe like this, always try to imagine sticking it in your leg. Because if you imagine sticking it in your leg, you'll be careful not to stick it in your leg.
Yeah, this isn't a safety video, it's a bow and arrow video. I've always, rule of thumb is I never have any more exposed than I want in my body. And see that? That crack went right back to center.
Pretty good. I don't think it'll take it completely off anyway.
Yeah. You want to take a little more off down here, Brian, or you think you're
I
almost...
think I'm at the point where it won't probably matter much. Where are we on the? Yeah, see, it's off the pith. Perfect. But
All right.
it curved off more than I wanted it to. Measuring the stave that we've got here, and I'm looking for a 6-foot bow, and we're at 6'9" as it is, so I'm just going to take and cut the thinner end off as it's split, and from there. Now, that sweater that was so important a couple hours ago, and take the bark off.
Yep.
And then we'll then I'll split the heartwood off. Get them off first, get down to the wood before we worry about taking the sapwood off. It's poking. Snow blind. I hope that it stops emerald ash borer.
What do you want to think about that? Have you been to Colorado in the last few years?
Oh, they get the spruce bud borer.
And the ash beetle too.
They do?
Oh yeah. I mean, all their standing aspen is tender.
That's a shame, you know. There's a
kill.
park out there, this aspen, and it's, I wouldn't accurately be able to say its size, but all those aspen are one living organism.
It's the largest living organism on the planet.
Right.
Is aspen.
Yeah, hang on, because I'm going to
Go for it.
jerk it here. Split off the heartwood, get that out of the way. I'm going to pick a place that I hope will run either straight or veer off towards the heart and not damage the outer part. Bearing arm on, and this is a good place to keep an axe handy also. So far it looks like it's going pretty good. Well,
You're just twisting that fro,
yeah.
and that is so far so good.
I'm pretty darn good. I think I'll stop. Press my luck. Here, let go and I'll start from the other end. Of course, when you're setting the blade of the froe in, you want to actually lay it into a grain.
So it's natural.
Yeah, so you're not cutting through two different layers of grain, but just through one.
Yep.
It should separate easier that way. Oh, see, it started to jump into the wrong way from it. Let me tip it a bit there.
Now you're gonna, once again, we're gonna take some off that, we're actually chopping into the heart, which would have been the center of the tree, but it's gonna bring that crack right back to the,
We hope so.
towards the center of the tree, which is what we're hoping to achieve.
Yeah. Now we're overlapped the crack that we made initially,
Mm-hmm.
and that too will help. Here, let me have it down here. No, that ain't gonna move. I'm gonna get rid of this.
Like I was saying earlier, the beauty of doing this is whatever doesn't work out to be a bow becomes firewood. So
Yeah, it could also end up
spoons,
spoons or
Trapper Nelsons,
yeah.
spatula, or a turner, technically. There you go. There you go.
Ash is a beautiful wood for lots of things. Snowshoes.
Snowshoes, pack baskets. Well, brown ash, I guess, for pack baskets. But
Brown ash and white oak.
yeah. You got it.
Yeah,
getting one
that's a nice piece of wood right there to save,
Yeah.
because it's out of the sapwood and it's out of the heartwood.
Yep.
So you got good solid wood. So now that we've got our stave roughed out, we're going to get rid of the sapwood we were talking about earlier, and that's still part of the cambium there. But I'm going to run a pencil line down, and we're thinking 3/8 to a 1/2 inch, somewhere in there.
Yep.
The trick will be, when we're scraping this off, to recognize one layer of grain of the wood and make the whole length of it run on that one layer of grain. And that'll be just a guideline. Splitting some of this wood off so that I don't have to shave it all off. It will, because it's off-centered, of course, it's going to run off to the side, to the weak end there, but that's okay. There's anything I don't have to shave. So I jumped almost immediately, and that's hardly worth my effort. So never mind.
That's why we get rid of the sapwood.
Yeah.
That's the most
Not much
the
integrity.
Achilles heel of the wood.
Yeah, integrity.
You'll have.
All right, we were talking about getting onto one layer of grain, and these lines here represent the different layers of grain that are building up, back up to, you know, its original surface.
Yep.
So,
You can see it right here.
yeah.
For example, this little.
Right. Once we get the whole thing roughly there, then we'll go back and we'll go to the lowest one that we can find here, which would probably be this one, and we'll chase that all the way down so that we have one even grain going the whole way.
And like you say, just so I can make sure, every time you see one of these little brown, darker lines, that you're going from grain to grain to grain, line to line to line. So those are 1, 2, 3, 4 layers of wood there.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Right, and like we were saying earlier, those are like leaves of a leaf spring.
Yeah,
type of thing.
that's a good way to look at it. As you were pointing out, if you imagine a leaf spring, you have layers of leaves, a layer of leaf spring. You have the smaller one, and then it gradually gets bigger. And we're actually going to accomplish the same, I guess, pattern with this. Is where we're going to use each grain layer after layer after layer, and then taper it down on each side so it's equal. So the strength is in the center of the bow. Is that a good explanation?
Let's say. Yeah, the handle is a strong point.
Exactly. So there's more layers of wood there than out on the limbs.
Right.
And you have to taper each one off equally so each limb has the equal strength. Just like a leaf spring.
Right. They all work together to support,
Exactly.
bend.